Hey, folks, Dave back here in Studio B. Kind of late night tonight here. I just want to get on real quick while I have thoughts in my head. We did a show today. I don't know if you saw that. It was How Deep Are Your Stats? And of course, guys, I've had a fun time talking about that with the Bee Gees references and all that stuff there. But it was basically, I saw how some people really, really get deep into stats and I'm wondering what the trade-off is between stats and then enjoying the game. And so tonight, what I did tonight is I played a game of Appa here. I can show you here. I might be able to switch the camera up here real quick and just kind of show you the tabletop here. So um yeah, so there's a game. So I played the Maple Leafs and the Canadians tonight here in Studio B. And so what I did is a kind of a little experiment project everything tonight. So when we talked about on the show, as you know, I played Apple the other night. I played the Maple Leafs and the Kings game 7, and the Maple Leafs won. So I said, should I play? Should I go off and play the Maple Leafs and the Canadians in 92-93 and see who would win the cup? And people said, yeah. So I did. And I thought it'd be a good experiment tonight as Ron stops by. Ron McGrath. Hi, Ron. I thought it'd be a good experiment tonight to keep track of stats. Okay. Now, it took me about an hour or so just to figure out what I wanted to do and how to do it. And I went and I found a whole bunch of score sheets and I tried to figure out what I wanted to do because I know I wanted individual shots. I wanted to get individual in range shots. The goals and assists I'm going to get anyway. And then I says, well, I'll keep track of block shots for defense and then face off wins and face off losses for the forward. So it took me a while, but I finally come up with something like this. So I got, the away team and the home team, and it's just a little check mark, as you can see, for every shot they got. Then I got the in range ones, and for the centers, I got the face-offs one, and then for the defense down over here, block shots. So that's what I did. I kept a little spreadsheet off to the side. So every face-off, who won, who lost. Okay. And then if I got a shot on net, I marked who got the shot. And if it was in range, I marked that off too. What was neat about this, though, is because I was using my app a score sheet. And when I did that, I was able to, a couple times I forgot to mark it on the Excel sheet there. So when I checked my spreadsheet here, I was able to double check my work, so to speak. So I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of neat that I was able to, go over that and figure that out. I want to change my color, by the way. How about we go to a blue? There we go. We're going to go to a blue. As David C. stops by, episode 180 was great. Thank you so much. That was a fun time. We weren't sure about that one. We had an idea what we wanted to talk about. We just kind of went with it, and it just kind of ended up being okay. But tonight was the experiment. Is I played a game of Apple hockey tonight, keeping track of individual shots on goal, individual in range chances, face offs won and lost, and then block shots. And how I did the block shots is I kind of just referred to the individual ODAI thing that comes up on my screen that was programmed in for me. And if it was anything on the right side, the right D blocked it. Anything on the left side, the left D blocked it. And if the center come up, then it was the opposite side. You know what I mean? So if the right wing and right D took the shot, then the left D blocked it the whole bit. If you follow any of that. So it was just kind of simulated blocks, but it was kind of neat to have all the stats. The downside is it took me over 2 hours to play the game tonight. Now, granted, it was all new to me and clunky, and it took me a while to get in the groove between checking off here and then playing the game on the Excel, then playing the game on the table and moving it around. I did kind of get into the groove by the third period. I will have to say that, but the third period went a heck of a lot quicker. I did get a lot of craziness though. You can see the score sheet. It turned out it was a 6-1 Toronto win in game one, but you can see all the penalties here. So anytime you stop for penalties, it does chomp up a bunch of time. But I mean, if I'm trying to weigh this out because when I played the game, I was kind of more fixed on keeping my stats than I was really broadcasting the game. So in other words, when Gilmore had the puck, I was more concerned about checking off his face-off wins and losses than I was him taking shots on net and scoring the goal. So I will say I wasn't as involved in the game. Maybe that's because I'm focused on this and it's not second nature yet. But I found that I played the game, but I was more focused on the stats. That being said, I can look here and see that, Gilmore got a lot of ice time because he double shifts on line 1 and line 4. And he won 19 faceoffs and only lost 8. So he was 19 and 8 on faceoffs. So it stuff like that's neat to look at. Crucial Niski was 10 and 10. He won 10 and he lost 10. This guy LeBeau from Montreal won 9, but he lost 12. So I mean, it is kind of neat to look at. It's nothing I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it was worth it or not. And what I would do with these stats. They're fun to look at, and I'm looking at them right now. I'm like, this is fun. Was it worth the extra half hour, 45 minutes, or an hour it took me to play the game? I'm not sure. Was it worth it that it took me away from the board and put me on to here? Well, again, it's new. I might need to try it again. I did the first period, and I sent a message to Ron. I said, boy, this is really kind of clunky. And he says, it takes a while to get used to. And like I said, I don't know what I would do with this. That's the thing. Is this right here is done? I got my goals, my assists, all my penalties, total shots on net, and the whole bit. So I have all the stats I would want. Now over here, if I want to look and say, geez, the third line for Toronto didn't get a shot on net. It's something to talk about. And the fourth line for Toronto only got 1 shot on net. Is that something to talk about? Maybe. Montreal's third line didn't get a shot on net. I mean, that's neat, and it's kind of interesting to see the data. And I like stats, and I like numbers, I like data. But I'm trying to think what I would do with this. So I spent the time to come up with this, and what am I going to do with this? So I mean, if I did this for the entire series, could I, put together a little spreadsheet and figure out who had how many shots and who had the most in-range chances? Who didn't get any shots? I suppose I could. I could look at face-offs, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of torn here. I'm really kind of torn. So I just wanted to jump on tonight, just talk about that for a second, because that's what we talked about today. Is do I want to just go back to keeping score? Or do I want to spend all this extra time on all these stats? Again, face-offs, block shots, individual stats. Those are the 3 main stats that I kept here. It does come in handy to, like I said, to keep your team shots, because I did screw that up at the end. There was a couple of Montreal shots I forgot to put on the spreadsheet, and when I checked here, it's like, okay. But I'm not sure what I would do with this. It's interesting to look at. Like I say, at the end of the game, it's like line 3 for either team. Didn't get a shot on net. That's kind of interesting. The defenseman, Desjardins, for Montreal, second line defenseman, had 5 shots on net. I guess that's kind of interesting. A lot of defensive shots for Montreal. I think they had 29 shots, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 11. 11 out of the 29 shots were from defensemen. I guess that's neat to look at. In fact, 2 of the defensemen had shots that were in range. In fact, the only goal was from a defenseman. Desjardins had the only goal. Muller had 2 in range. LeBeau had 2 in range. And Damphouse had 1 in range. So they had 5 in-range chances for the forwards and did not score on them. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I love stats. I love looking at stats and the whole bit. But I'm trying to think, if I'm playing here on the tabletop, I don't know if this is going to be worth it for me. As SG Jamie stopped by, thanks for coming by. I just played APA hockey, okay? And this was if Toronto had beaten LA and played Montreal for the Cup in 92-93. So I just played game 1 in APA. And what I did beyond my normal stats of, goals and assists and penalties, I started keeping a secondary page which kept track of individual shots, face-offs for the centers, won and lost, and block shots by the defense. And I'm wondering if that was worth my time or not, or if I would have been. I probably could have got 2 games of Appa in tonight if I didn't mess around with creating the stat sheet. Even printing out all the names on here in Excel, so that would be all done. I wouldn't have to write them by hand, and then laying this out just right so I could keep track of what I wanted to keep track of. If I didn't do that, I would have got 2 games of Appa in tonight. I wouldn't have all these stats, but again, I'm trying to think what I would do with that. Sports Time Machine comes by. Good to talk to you. He goes, "Hey Dave, I just started a huge action PC hockey league. Can you tell your feelings about the realism of the game, like with ratings?" It's good. I mean, action PCs, all the games are good. The baseball, the football, basketball, hockey, they're all fine. You're not gonna get anything out of whack with that. You're just not. It's a fun game. It really is. Um, Eddie says, interested in my opinion, action PC hockey as well. I like action PC hockey. I do. I played. My thing right now is I'm really into the tabletop cards and dice stuff, mostly hockey and baseball right now. And so the action PC stuff is when you play that, that's all kind of closed roles. You don't see what happens in that. You can follow along, make a few decisions in the game. The visuals are great. I love doing the play by play for that. I practice a lot with that off season. Excuse me. So the action PC hockey is fine. I don't play it a lot right now because I'm not into that. I'm not playing in. I'm really kind of doing the cards and dice thing right now, and just the phase I'm in. Sometimes I'm in a lazy phase, and I just put up the feet and play the PC game. So it's just what I'm in right now. I'm in a big APA phase right now, between APA hockey and APA baseball is where I am right now. And David C. For me, reviewing, keeping statistics is just as fun as playing the game. Makes the entire process longer, but very satisfying. Well, that's what I'm trying to find out. Am I satisfied right now? Again, in a way, it is neat. It is neat looking down at this, and so I can keep these 2 sheets together, and I got my main stats here, and then I can dig deeper into these stats if I want. But I'm thinking, what would I do with this aside from looking down and recapping the game in my mind and saying, "Wow, I can't believe that neither third line even had a shot on net," and looking at how many faceoffs were won by each team. And I haven't calculated that yet, but I could calculate that to see the faceoffs win and losses. But I mean, realistically, would I have preferred to play another game of APA tonight and just kept my basic goals, assists, penalties, and team shots on net? Would I prefer to have get 2 games in tonight? Probably is the answer. Probably. I would rather have 2 of these tonight, and then none of these, and I could have 2 games done in the series. And again, it's not a race, and I get it. And like David said, keeping stats are just as fun. But I'm just for myself. I'm just wondering, like, what would I do with these stats? You know, at least the game here, I can post a score and tell you what happened, and say, hey, look, Andrew Chuck and Borcheski each had 2 goals in Toronto's win over Montreal. That's kind of the summary of what happened here. Is anybody, including myself, going to care that Gilmore was, 19-8 on faceoffs? Is anybody going to care that Lyle Odeline blocked 5 shots? Is anybody going to care that, like I say, Kirk Muller had 5 shots on net, no goals? I don't know. Again, I guess it's all personal preference. There's no wrong answer here. I'm just kind of spitballing here. I guess what the word that is there. I just played the game. Like it just finished up about 5 minutes ago. It took me a long time. I'm thinking the next one would go quicker because as I went along, I got a system going. I did. I finally got a system going where I was like, okay, roll the dice off the face off, boom, boom. I'll continue with the game. Play the game. Okay, face off, boom, boom. Shot on goal, boom. Okay. So I started by the third period at what I did pick up the pace a little bit. I'm just not sure if I'd want to do this every game. I mean, once in a while, I think it would be fun. And I'm not sure, like I said, when I do game 2, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I really don't. I don't know if I want to do this again because I felt like it kind of took me out of the game because I was so, man, I know it's the first time, but I kept worrying about making sure I had the stats here right, that the game was kind of secondary to the stats, if that makes any sense. And Jamie says, I think with sports like hockey, where you are, meaning me probably, more passive a player, tabletop, I think would keep you in the game more. When I play Action PC or other PC hockey games, I doze off sometimes. I will second that. The last couple times I pulled out Action PC and even Strat PC, to be fair, I got through most of the first period and I kind of faded off. I kind of lost interest. Even with the Strat, just rolling the dice, following along, like, oh my gosh, there's still 7 minutes to go in the first period. I feel like I've been playing this for 3 hours. I don't know what it is about some of those games. It's you play and you play and you play and you play and you look up, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm only halfway through the first period. What's going on here? And so I haven't finished a game of Action PC hockey or Strat PC hockey in quite some time. It just hasn't worked for me. I think probably I don't know. I did play a game of Inside the Crease PC. I did play a game like that. That moves pretty quick. And you move at your own pace with that because you're clicking around. And that's what's great about that. It's a longer play game because you're going 20 seconds at a time, but you're going bing, 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 bing with the clicking of the mouse, and you can really fly through that game. Whereas the Strat, even if you put on low text, it's doing a lot of text, and it's doing a lot of rolling, and it's showing you the result. And you're kind of playing cards and dice, but boy, you are at the mercy. And even if you speed up the text, it's face-offs are like forever to drop. You can't just get a face-off win. It's got to list all the things that happened during that face-off. And you're like, oh my gosh, really? So yeah, so I hear you with that sometimes those games I gotta really be in the mood and want to play, because I don't know how many times I pull out a game of Strat Hockey PC. I want to play this Chicago Blackhawks game against the North Stars, right? And I get it all set up and I play it, and I get, like I say, halfway through the first period, and just the novelty is worn off. It's not doing anything for me at that time. Whereas when I pull out the cards, after I set everything up, damn it, I'm gonna play this thing. I really am. And let's see, Corey stopping by here. Corey says, been my struggle between second season football, pocket pennant run, and such. Fun to see the stats, but in the end, after spending an extra 20 minutes adjusting stats, I could have started another game. Yeah, that's my point. That's it right on the head. Is and this is a personal question. This is not what anybody else should do. And if David says he does the stats and he loves it, and that's great because you're having fun doing what you enjoy. That's what you should be doing. Myself, and we talked about it on the show today, when I got the Excel helpers for Hockey Bones and Apple Hockey, it sped the game up to a point where I could get it closer to an hour than an hour and a half. Okay. And that was a hurdle. And we talked about hurdles on the show a couple weeks ago. You get these mental hurdles. Like, if I had to do this over again, it's like I'm looking at 2.5 hours maybe, because that's what it took me tonight to do this. Again, I had 7 goals and 15 penalties, so there was a lot of starts and stops writing down stuff. So I get that, but just keeping the extra stats, it must have tacked on an extra 30 or 40 minutes to my game. Just coming over, checking it off, every face off. It tacked on another few seconds, and so now I'm back to a long play game. Now I'm getting my stats, so it's not like I'm not getting anything out of it. I am getting something for my time, is kind of what I'm getting at. But I got these games sped up to a point where I was comfortable pulling them out and playing, because, like I say, hour and 10 minutes, I could do these things with these spreadsheets now, and I could get through a full game, feel like I played a full game, and enjoy the full game, and have the stats I wanted. And I was kind of happy with that. But I was kind of jealous of other people who have full stats, but there's the time trade-off. So now I'm weighing this in. Do I want to spend the time, mocking up 2 sets of stat sheets for a game? Or would I rather spend all the time I spent on this tonight and start another game? And so I think me and Corey are kind of in the same position here, that we like playing the games and having some stats. You don't want to just fly through a game and have nothing. You want to have something to enjoy afterwards. I don't know about you. When I'm done a game, I kind of like look at the score sheet and kind of replay the game in my head. Like I'm looking at this right now, and I'm saying in the first period, the Leafs outshot that Montreal outshot the Leafs 9-5, but the Leafs had 2 shots in range, and Anderson scored from Gilmore and Andreychuk, and it was 1-0 Leafs. So they went up. And then they got 2 in the second. I was like, holy cow! It's 3-0 Leafs. They ended up going up. I think it was 3-0, and then finally Desjardins scored for Montreal. It's 3-1. But then 3 more goals. Gilmore, Andreychuk, and Borchevsky all scored, and it was 6-1. So I'm kind of replaying the game in my head, and I look at the penalties down below. And Montreal went 0 for, was it 1, 2, 3, 4? Oh, Montreal went 0 for 5 on the power play at home. Wah didn't have a Wah type of game, giving up 9 goals and 22 shots. I'm sorry, 6 goals and 22 shots. So out of the 9 in-range chances, he made 6 saves, 3 saves, which is less than half. So Wah didn't have a very good game in net, and I can't believe I got 6 goals on Patrick Wah. On 22 shots. That's not a lot of shots. But I know who took the shots. So I have that. I know who took the shots on net. I know whose shots were in range, and also now I know who scored the goals. So I have that here if I want to talk about that. But am I going to talk about that? Who am I going to talk about that with? As Larry stops by. Hi, Larry. Jamie replies back, for stats overall, I am not sure I could play a game of any sport to not have at least some stats after. I like looking at the boxers. See, I do too. When I play hockey, I like obviously goals and assists, power plays. I'm not too concerned with who got the penalties. Somebody had a monster night and they picked up, 4 or 5 minors in a fight. Yeah, it's something. Okay, great. Terry O'Reilly got 15 minutes of penalties, whatever, 5 minors in a fight or something like that. That's interesting to talk about. But I even with my hockey, as much as I like it, I don't like when I look at my hockey box score, I'm not looking at block shots. I'm not looking at face-off wins. Sometimes I'll look at individual shots. That's kind of interesting sometimes. Maybe I could just do that. Maybe I could just list all the players in the game. And when they got a shot on net, I could just keep track of their shots. That might be something to talk about. Maybe that's a good way of splitting this down the middle. Instead of keeping track of every face-off win, maybe just keep track of team face-offs. Because when the face-off goes off, and I'm like, okay, who's out here on the ice? Okay, it's Krushelnyski. Okay, he lost the face-off, and it was Carbonneau won the face-off. That right there, that's 10, 15 seconds of me looking up every single face-off. And if I got, so what do I get? 19, 27, 37, 47. I get over 50 face-offs a game times 10 or 12 seconds every face-off. That's a lot of extra time, that I'm spending doing this. So maybe I could, kind of cut the baby in half, as I like to say, and just keep track of the things I want. I want to keep track of it. I thought if keeping track of block shots to be something for the defenseman, but I'm really not going to do anything with block shots. I'm not even going to do anything with the face-offs. I think what I might do going forward is I might keep track of individual shots and team face-offs. That's what I think I might do. What team wins the face-off? Okay, you win it, great. You get a check mark. And I think that would give me a little bit more stats, but it wouldn't bog me down with face-offs and block shots. I think that's where I am right now. Is when I was doing face-off and block shots, I think that was a little too much. I think that was a little too much. But so that's just some thoughts on doing that. And the more I talk it out, the more I think maybe I'll scale it down a little bit. Maybe I can say, if I'm looking here, maybe I'll just print out the lineup. And if you get a shot, you get a check mark, and I'll just keep track of team faceoffs. And maybe that'll be good enough. Maybe that'll just be a little bit more than team stats to see who took the shots on net. And then even that, I don't even know about that because, when I look at the box scores, I'm not, like I said, I'm looking at the final score. I'm looking at the goalies, how many saves they made. I want to see who scored the goals. I mean, I don't care that, Kirk Muller got 6 shots and he got no goals. That's really not, I don't know, not a thing for me. Even, like I say, even when I play inside the crease on PC, they keep track of everything, which is great. So when you're done, you have a full-blown hockey box score. You got your block shots, you got, everything in there. It really is. They do a great job with that stat package when you play that. And but I don't look at a lot of those. So anyway, well, it's midnight over here, and I'm going to be up for work in a few hours. But I just finished up a very long game of APA, and so I'm just kind of throwing it out there to you guys. So just as a follow up to our show today, episode 180, we talked about how deep are your stats, and what do you do as far as keeping stats, and how many do you keep, and what, no matter what sport it is, how deep do you go, and like Corey said, that's his struggle when he's playing games, because if he wants to keep all kinds of crazy stats, it bites into your gaming time. And I could have played 2 games of APA tonight, and it could be 1-1, or Toronto could be up 2-0 in the series. And I like to play. I really like to play. And when I start doing all the extra stuff, dolling it up, that takes time, dolling it all up, so it takes time. So I back off a little bit on some of that too. But now keeping the stats, I tried it out tonight. I was very frustrated. After the first period, I was just, I don't want to do this anymore. But I forced myself to do the whole game. It got a little bit better. But now I'm wondering, like I say, I have all these stats. I traded gameplay time for stats. I think I'd want to get a little bit more of my gameplay time back. That's just me. Who knows? That could change tomorrow, though. But anyway, hey, just a quick late night chat here. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for chatting. As we just talked a little bit about stats, So let me know here in the comments here, or comment on the show that we did today about stats, And Jamie says, before we go, the game also has to distribute the more minor stats accurately too. Yeah, well, I mean, if that's what you like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and when you play PC, when you play Action PC, Strat PC, Replay PC, Digital Diamond, anything you play on the PC, it's going to keep track of everything. And that's the beauty of playing computer games, is you don't have to take all this time and keep track of it. I think it's, when I play here on my tabletop with the cards and dice, as you know, it is much more, I don't know what you want to call it. It's much more intimate is what it is. You feel like you're really here. You feel like you're really in the game. When you're playing a PC game and you're clicking around, yeah, it's fun. But I'm really enjoying rolling dice or clicking on the spreadsheet and looking at the cards and figuring things out myself, And I've been doing that with Apple Baseball and Apple Hockey, Hockey Bones, whatever. All the games I played that on the tabletop. And I've been preferring that. And I'm really happy that I found someone that created an Excel helper. And I'm happy that, Mark Cohen created Digital Diamond Baseball, so I could play all my cards and dice baseball games and have my stats done for me. If there was a hockey program that did that, it would be fantastic, but there's not. So it's all kind of done by hand. And so I don't know. I'm kicking this around. We'll see how it goes. Maybe tomorrow night I'll come back again. Maybe I'll try a little bit less stats. Maybe I'll find my sweet spot in there somewhere. And maybe I'll just go back to goals, assists, and penalties and won't worry about anything else and just try to enjoy the game. So thanks for coming by tonight. Yep, Larry, I'm going to try to have a good weekend. I got to work tomorrow. I get playoffs in the morning. And we're not a good team, but we're playing the team that's worse than us. So we'll see what happens tomorrow in the playoffs. We're in the wild card game tomorrow. That's what we made, the wild card. So thanks for coming by, everybody. We'll talk to you later. We'll probably talk to you tomorrow or Sunday. Thanks. Bye-bye.